Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Happy New Year! Can you believe we're about to embark on a whole new year and decade? Today we're talking about habits we want to start, adventures we want to go on, risks we want to take, and more. Join us as we lay out our goals for 2020. Happy New Year, Mindy!
Hey, Happy New Year, Marie.
Happy New Year, Julie.
Happy New Year.
Can you guys believe that we are releasing this episode on such a momentous day? January 1st, 2020.
Wow, it sounds so futuristic.
Doesn't it?
It does. It feels like a true milestone because our oldest child, Abby Ray, was born in 2000. And so just the significance of 20 years, like she will turn 20 years old.
Yes.
Grant will graduate from high school. I can't believe it. Like
I know.
I never thought we would be here, thinking back to how I felt 20 years ago.
Yes. I mean, I can still remember when we turned just to the 2000s. So the fact that we're now 20 years past that seems incredible to me.
Because 20 years ago, I think 1980.
Yes, I do too in my mind too.
Right.
That was 40 years ago, Mindy.
40 years.
Shoot.
Today, listeners, we are setting out some 2020 goals that we would each like to see happen in our own lives this year. And last year, we had fun laying out some things we wanted to try in 2019 and then revisiting those in episode 60, which we just released a couple weeks ago. So, ladies, I look forward to hearing what's on your 2020 list, and then I look forward to laughing in December 2020 at what we did and didn't accomplish.
That's right.
Well, for that very reason, everything I thought about for my 2020 goals, I kept in mind that I will have to talk about this at the end of the year.
No, there's accountability.
Yeah.
Yes. And listeners, we would love for you to kind of follow along with us today. And if you want to message us, things that you're going to do in these categories, we'd love to hear from you. We love to share them with other listeners if you want to give us permission to do that. But we definitely are. I'm always so interested in what do people want to accomplish, whether they actually do or don't, just what were they thinking they wanted to accomplish.
Well, I think this is ironic because I can tell you guys, I have made New Year's resolutions all of 2 times, and that's only because of this podcast.
That's funny, Mindy. You're just having to step outside your comfort zone today.
Way outside the box.
All right. Well, the first thing we wanted to do was to think of one habit that you're going to build in 2020. So, guys, who wants to go first? What is one habit that you're trying to build?
Well, if you remember last year, I said I wanted habits.
Uh-huh.
So
Yes.
This year, I have been reading an awesome book called Atomic Habits. In fact, I think we might even need to have Mindy read this and
Julie.
talk about it on the podcast because it's so fascinating.
Okay.
So I am starting small in order to learn learning the practice of building habits. So my habits are drinking water every morning like Mindy does. And I've been doing it. I've had my glass by my bed, drinking it while I'm making my bed. And then that's my second one, is to make my bed every day. And that's something I used to do all the time. And just lately, I've kind of given it up thinking, well, nobody sees it. I'm going to get back in tonight, but I have been doing it for several weeks now. And I will say by the end of the year that I am still doing.
All right. You heard it here
Julie.
first.
I love those are great goals.
All right, Mindy, what's one habit that you're trying to build?
All right. Well, this is something that my husband and daughter do so well, and I finally feel the need to do it. I'm actually, during my quiet time, going to add in, kind of like Julie said, I'm going to start very just small, but journaling. Now, journaling, that word itself sounds so deep and heavy and time consuming. And so I have never done it, certainly not consistently, but I really just want to get into the habit. I'm going to start with just things that are on my mind. I think I'm going to do like bullet points. So like prayer requests and praises. And I'm just going to start there. I'm going to call that journaling.
I think it is a form of journaling, Mindy.
Okay. Because I think I would more stick with it if I didn't feel like I had to write out all my feelings, because that sounds like horrible to me to sit there and write out all my feelings. But if I could just bullet point the prayers of my heart and the praises of my soul. I'm going to start there.
Okay.
I think that's great. And once you start, what I'm reading in my book is once you establish the habit, it may grow into something bigger.
Right.
But you just start with the smallest amount.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I do need to start small. Because again, the word journaling sounds like a really big commitment to me. So I had to put it in a way that I felt like I could keep up with it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right. Well, my habit is not nearly as change your life, but I want to start cooking a certain meal on a certain night. You guys, why can I not get a handle on my meals? I have been married for 26 years. I have almost raised 5 kids. And it is so hard for me to think every single night about 30 minutes before it's time to eat, what are we having for dinner?
Yeah.
And the problem with a certain meal on a certain night is that I can't get a meal that absolutely every single person is excited about. I feel like I can't please everybody, so why even bother if people aren't even going to be excited about this meal that I'm going to cook? But I did try Julie's suggestion of like make your own pizza, and I tried the naan bread, and I tried having sauce and toppings, and people generally liked it. But when I tried to bring it out a second time, like a different week, they're like, oh no, not that again. It's like I'm looking for something easy that people don't mind having weekly. So listeners, by the end of 2020, I hope to be able to say that I have found that elusive meal, and I hope to be able to tell you on what night of the week I will make it.
Well, Maria, I did do that for years, and I did find that 1 week rotations were too often. Like
really?
Even if it was their favorite meals, it came around too often.
Oh.
And so then I went to a 2 week rotation. I finally went to a 1 month.
What about like the Taco Tuesday that people have, or the Pizza Friday? That's too often, do you think?
Well, no, not for one meal, maybe. Like
that's
Pizza
what I'm saying.
Friday, that's great. But not like one every
meal.
week, always the same.
Oh, no.
I think that's too much.
Yes, I'm definitely starting small, like with your Atomic Habits. I would just aim for one meal, one night of the week. Anyways, what is one negative belief that you're going to drop? Mindy, why don't you go first on this? What's a negative belief that you are not going to believe anymore?
I've been struggling with this one. It's been ruminating in my mind, but it's just the belief that I'll never change. That's just the way I am. That thought of that's just what I struggle with. I'm tired of saying that's just what I struggle with, or not necessarily even vocalizing it, but internalizing it. It kind of sets me up for failure by thinking that. So I would really like to get rid of that.
Okay. What's a thing that you say about yourself that's just the way you are?
I feel like the area of self-control in my life, that fruit of the spirit, is something that I see that ebbs and flows. And so that just encompasses so many things. It encompasses my budgeting skills, my eating habits, my sleeping habits. It's just being consistent with the things that I know I should do, and also not doing the things I know I shouldn't do.
I know those consistency things, they'll get us every time.
It kicked me in the butt daily.
Yes.
I'm tired of it.
All right, Julie, what's one negative belief that you're going to drop this year?
All right, I'd like to drop the belief that this is too hard. I want to focus more on the benefits and the outcome of, if I did this, and look past the obstacles. Because I feel like I sometimes give up on things before I ever even start. It's such a mental battle. Like I say, I'm going to do this. I want to do this. I do a lot of research. And then I just don't start because I talk myself out of it. Like, oh, there's just too many obstacles. It's too hard. I don't know how to do this. And I just want to start taking whatever steps I can toward the goal. And then, it'll hopefully snowball.
Right.
I'll learn more and more. It'll open up new doors, and it'll just get easier, by trying. And I don't think I try enough things that are hard.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I know I can. And how many times have you heard of something new, or heard that somebody else did something and you thought, oh, I thought of that idea years ago, or that was something I really wanted to do. Why didn't I ever just get out there and do it?
I do. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to look back and say, I had all these plans and then just never did it. So I'm finding that telling people about my plans helps.
Right.
Kind of that If I speak it, then I might do it. I'd be more likely to do it.
Yes. All right. Well, listeners, you hold Julie accountable. At the end of the year, we need to say, what did you try that was hard? Well, one negative belief that I want to drop is that everyone else is doing it better. So I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but this applies to so many things. I mean, parenting, marriage, friendships, entertaining, podcasting. I mean, the list never ends. And I don't really consider myself to be like a really insecure person or someone that's overly concerned with what other people think. But I do often find myself thinking, oh, everyone else is doing it better, or everyone else has already done it better, so why should I even bother? Or I don't know, it sometimes just keeps me from trying something new or just feeling satisfied with where I am and how I'm doing it. And I'm not even conscious of it a lot of times. Do you guys ever find yourself thinking that?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's easy to look around and think, oh, I just kind of do everything in a mediocre way, like
Right.
Goes back to that comparison thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like we have some negative beliefs that we need to get rid of this year.
All three of us are just a little messed up. No.
They're lies. They're all lies.
That's right.
Let's move it over to the flip side. What's one positive belief that you're going to try and reinforce? So I'll go first on this one. This is a belief that I need to remind myself of on the daily. These are the teenage years, and my kids that live at home are not finished yet. When you're raising teenagers, it's easy to think, oh my goodness, look at what they're doing. I failed. What did I do wrong? How are they ever going to do X, Y, or Z as an adult? But let me remind myself, just as I'm reminding our listeners, that these people are not done yet. And they're going to look different at 15. They did it at 13, and they're going to be more grown up at 17 than at 15. And having had two older kids, I can also tell myself, probably what I'm upset about right now will be just about done by the time they're 20.
Right.
But it is just, when you're in the moment, it's really hard to remember that. So or even maybe it won't even take until they're 20. This is kind of funny. Like, it could just take a couple hours. The other night, the drama was so strong in our house. I was getting phone calls at Costco, people screaming at each other. One woman walked by and did like one of those solidarity smiles because she could actually hear people screaming through the phone. It was like, oh my goodness. And then, I get home and they're still fighting. And I'm just like, nobody's going to be okay. Our family's a failure. I failed as a mother, whatever. But then just a couple hours later, people are giggling and laughing and we're getting along again. So just to know that these things ebb and flow, it's a roller coaster, and all the downs are going to be followed by ups.
I appreciate you saying this so much, Marie. It is such an encouragement, and I needed to hear that. So thank you.
Yeah, that's good to remember. And I had a friend whose kids were a little older than me, and she would tell me that all the time. They're not done yet. And it's kind of unfair to expect them to be like their 20 and 25-year-old siblings, give them that space to grow up and mature, just like we all had,
Right.
Yes, for sure. All right. Well, what's a positive that you're going to be telling yourself this year, Julie?
Not everything's my fault. Not everything's my responsibility.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
And like we talked about in the happiness book, I can strive to influence other people around me. I can only change myself, and I have no control over those around me as far as changing behaviors or changing attitudes or, fixing things that I want to fix.
Right, right. And that is hard. I mean, I think as moms, we tend to take that on ourselves, that it's our fault or we have to do something about it. And
even just with friendships and other relationships, I just kind of take on people's problems. Not that I'm actively trying to fix things, but just that, like the burden.
Yes.
I take it all on, and I don't need to do that.
Right.
Right.
Mindy, what are you going to be positively telling yourself this year?
All right. Well, I actually am stealing this from my son, Grant, whom he came home the other day, and I just loved what he said. So I'm just going to tell you what he said. He had been struggling with a couple of different things, some friendships. He's in the midst of trying to choose colleges. He wants a football scholarship. There's a lot of things he's working on. He said that morning he decided that every time one of those thoughts came into his mind and he started getting, anxious or fearful about the future, whatever, he was just going to pray. He said, I put my phone down and I just decided every time one of those thoughts came into my mind, I was going to pray. And this child was a different kid when he came home that day. I could tell he was lighter, he was freer. And I looked at him, I said, Grant, if you don't take anything else with you from this house, from all of your years, right, being raised in this home, take that. Just pray about everything. Leave it all at the Lord's feet, because constantly things come into our minds and our lives that can send us into a frenzy. And I watched it with my son just that day, the difference in him of taking everything to the Lord in prayer.
And to hear something that from your own kid that even you might need to hear,
I needed it, and I appreciated hearing it come out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what we all need, Mindy. We all need to be telling ourselves that.
That's right.
What are some adventures that you guys want to go on this year? So, Julie, you usually have the biggest adventures of all of us. So let's start out with you.
I just picked one, and this is one of the things that I want to put out there to kind of hold me accountable. I would love to host a ladies' trip to London.
I'm in. Sign me up.
Like 5 or 6 people at the most, and go for a week and kind of get to be a tour guide.
You would be so perfect at that. And I would love to learn from you and go there.
It would just be really fun. And to do it with friends, I think that would be.
Yes.
So, Julie, can we just go ahead and put that on the calendar? Like, when does that work for you?
I was kind of looking at maybe October.
I'm thinking I really need to help you be accountable on this one.
Okay. Yeah, I've got to have people to make it work. So
okay.
All right, listeners, you've heard Julie's adventure here first. She wants to lead a trip to London, a ladies' trip to London in October 2020. If you are interested, send us your names.
We're going to have like 100 women. I want to go.
Well, this is a much smaller adventure that I want to go on, Julie, but I'm terrible at thinking of traveling adventures, but this did appeal to me. So my daughter and son-in-law were going to get maternity pictures taken in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. And she was saying, well, what could we do that night when we're there? And I said, oh, well, you could go to the Buckhead area of Atlanta, and I bet they have beautiful Christmas lights. And so she's like, where's that? So I started Googling it. These things came up like Buckhead home tours and all these things. And I thought, why have I never thought of doing this? Because my husband had said, the girls are going away on a little youth retreat. This was in December. And, we should go somewhere for the night. Well, I couldn't think of anywhere I wanted to go. You guys, I'm so bad. I was like, I've already seen all I want to see in Chattanooga. I've been to Atlanta. I've been to Memphis. Like within driving distance, I couldn't think of anything I was dying to do. But I would have loved to have gone on some home tours. That would have totally been something I would go. So I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up. I think they have them in the spring there, and I'm going to try and go in April. I just think that would be exciting for me. And then I wouldn't mind combining it with like a trip to IKEA or things like that. But I need some new things maybe to do in some of those places because I've already seen the highlights.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that because John and David used to go to Atlanta to go to this auction. And if they were there on a Sunday, this sounds funny that my husband and son did this, but they would go to open houses for homes that were for sale in Buckhead.
Oh, cool. I would love to do that too.
I know.
That's a great idea.
So you could, it wouldn't have to be a certain season. You could just find open houses on Sunday. And that is such a beautiful area.
It is.
It is.
Old and the trees and it's so pretty.
And there's so many great restaurants to choose from too when you're there.
Yes. And see, I only needed like a couple hour activity to get me excited about going, but I'd already seen the Coke Museum. I've seen like all the Margaret Mitchell stuff. I love Gone with the Wind, but I already toured it all. I'd been to Stone Mountain. Like I felt like I'd already seen a lot of the things that you might go and do. And I just needed something new to draw me. And home tours will draw me.
Yes.
Yeah.
How fun.
So that's one of my goals. All right, Mindy, what's an adventure that you want to go on?
This is an adventure that's already planned and booked, and I'm going there in just a couple of weeks. I'm going on a girls' cruise to the Bahamas again with my group of girls.
So jealous.
I cannot wait. Not going to lie. Super excited. It's amazing what a vacation it feels like when I do that. I'm just so thrilled. So friend time, cruising, good food,
Yes.
nobody's calling me
Nice.
mom. It's a great time.
And cruises are so relaxing. They
They
really are.
are. They are.
Well, you're going to have a great time, and that's a goal that you're going to for sure be able to check off your list.
I am ready. Yes. Yes. Super excited.
Yeah, you get to check that one off early.
I know.
All right, you guys, risks that we're going to take. I am risk averse, so let me hear what you guys are taking first.
That's so funny because I was saying I love to take risks.
Oh, I'm like Marie.
All right, Mindy, then you tell us your risky thing first, and then we'll go.
I don't have anything. I seriously was racking my brain.
I know. A couple weeks ago in our 2019 end of the year episode, you said that you're going skiing in February. Now, is downhill skiing a risk for you? Have you ever done it?
I have done it once and it was not my favorite activity. And I'm doing this out of love for my husband who happens to love skiing. And this chick grew up going to the beach every summer.
Right.
So I am going downhill skiing in Vermont in February. So, okay, that's going to be my answer. Thanks,
I'm
Marie.
telling you now, it's risky.
It is. And I'm pretty athletic. I work out, but we all know that it doesn't matter how much you work out or how athletic you are.
No.
We bend and we don't bend like we used to, and we break a little faster than we used to. And then when that happens, it takes a really long time to recover.
Yes.
So
So I definitely put that in the risk category.
that will be a risk, definitely. Me flying down the side of a mountain.
All right, Julie, did you have a risk that you're going to take?
All right, y'all are probably going to laugh at this, but I would like to take down all the blinds in my house.
Oh, and what would you have?
That was
Oh.
risky because of my husband's reaction. We have those 2-inch wooden blinds on all the
Yes.
front windows, but we never close them. They're always
okay.
open.
Yes.
And we live up on a hill pretty far off the street. So I never really worry about anybody looking in our windows. Like our bedroom windows have blinds that
Sure.
we shut. Our house is really dark and they do cut back on the light coming in the house. So I would like to just get rid of them and have nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm kind of stuck in that, I guess, decorating rules of all your front windows should look alike.
Oh,
Because I feel like I would have to keep them up on David's bedroom or the guest bedroom upstairs.
yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that would look odd to have them on bedroom windows and not our living room and
I don't think it
dining room?
would look odd. No.
I don't
no.
think so either.
And
Mm-mm.
plus, Julie, all the rooms that you're talking about taking them off are not rooms that you are spending a lot of time in the evening, like your dining room, your piano room, your pantry. I mean,
And even if I was, I wouldn't care if anybody saw
right,
it.
right. Yeah.
We, like I said, we never shut them. So I am just looking for ways to make the house lighter. And that would
That
be the
would
easiest.
be a beautiful change. I love that. I love as much light coming through windows as possible.
Now, here's the real risk. You just go and take those down. You put them in the garbage can like you did with that linoleum that time, and you let John see him as he pulls home from work. Now, that's the risk you're taking, is that he might be
That's
mad.
a big one. I guess I could sell them. I don't know. I just feel like I spent a lot of money on those, but we've also had them for 20
Yeah.
20 years, like we've gotten our use out of them.
Well, and you could store them pretty easily. You could make them very tight, wrap the cords around them, put them underneath like a guest bedroom bed. And if you don't miss them in 6 months, toss them.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So you
Good.
could put them back. Don't tell John you did that. Make him think they're actually gone and see how strongly he opposes it.
I know.
you
And
think-
he might not even notice.
I was going to say, do you think he'll notice at all? Because,
I am doing that.
Yes.
ooh,
Right.
yay,
Jan-
Julie.
January is so fun to do that, like
Well, it's the perfect month because it is a dark month. And so you'll really
Yeah.
be able to judge how it feels. I think that's a great one. All right. Well, as I said before, I am risk averse. And I couldn't think of a risk that I was wanting to take. Although I'm not risk averse like when it comes to doing a home project, Julie,
Mhm.
like you,
Yeah.
but I just couldn't think of a home project that I wanted to do. But I did find an article that I'll link to in the show notes, and it's called The Biggest Risk is Not Taking One. 14 risks everyone needs to take in life. And 3 of these really stuck out to me. So the first risk that I need to put myself out there and do is risk getting turned down. And this can apply to so many things like asking someone to coffee or pursuing a job or reaching out to a podcast guest. Like a lot of those things, it's putting yourself out there and the person might say no. And it feels uncomfortable when they say no. Also, another one that really struck me was risk failing. So this is also hard. No one likes to fail, but the fear of it can keep me from trying new things or things that I don't feel confident about. I hate the idea that I tried and wasn't successful. I really do think there are personalities out there that don't mind trying, and if they're successful, they're okay with it, and if they're not, they're like, oh, well, at least I tried. But I'm not that person. Are either of you guys?
No, I kind of like to know I'm going to be good at something before I do it. And you probably miss out on a lot of things because you learn by mistakes.
Right. Mindy, I feel like you might be better at it.
I do put myself out there more. I don't think it was a natural ability that I had when I was younger. I think it was forced in my life, with all the moving and changing that I went through. And so, yeah, I do feel like I really don't mind putting myself out there. I'm like, if I look stupid, we'll all have a great laugh and I'll go home.
I do think that comes easier with age because you do it depends on what it is. Like if it's social, yes, it gets easier. In fact, back in December, I had the idea of having an open house tea. It wasn't going to be anything formal. Like I didn't even plan it until the night before. And I just put a little invite out on Facebook. I didn't even have the food. I went to Trader Joe's at 9:00 that night to get it.
Oh, wow.
And I had no idea who was coming. No one had said, I'm coming. I heard from a lot of people that, I can't come, or out of town people would say, I wish I lived in Nashville. I'd be there. But I had no idea if anyone was coming. Right. And so John called me a couple of times that day, like, are you going to be okay if nobody comes to this?
Right.
Or, he goes, I'm not going to come home and find you in the closet crying, am I? Aww. And even David was like, Mom, do you have any responses? Is anybody coming to this? They were both so worried about me.
Oh,
and 4 people came.
That's
and
awesome.
It was, I kind of thought more, but they all came staggered. So like all afternoon, I had a guest in the house. So it was great. But that was kind of putting myself out there.
It was putting yourself out there, Julie, because even, you know how you get like secondhand cringing for someone? I was reading the comments and I saw like, I wish I could come. And I knew that I couldn't come. And you hadn't said that you knew of anyone that could come. So I was like, I'm not even going to ask her how that went because I'm worried that it didn't go well. I'm glad to hear that it did go well.
Well, I had said if just one person comes, that is going to be fine. So
I love that, Julie. What a great thing to tell our listeners too. I think that's good for all of us to hear.
All right. Mindy, what's one thing that you're going to throw out this year?
Oh, just one thing, Marie?
Yes, we got to think of our one thing that we are going to finally get rid of. Okay, you have a list? Bring it.
All right. Here's the list. Broken picture frames.
Okay.
Expired food.
That should be a pretty good one. How much expired food could you have with having just moved?
I think I need to go through my pantry. Well, I mean, because food does expire pretty fast.
Yeah.
All right. So
I have moved expired food. So moving doesn't really.
Our pantry is not the most visible room. And so things do get tucked to the back. So I just need to go through it is what so expired food. And then I added this to the list because with the milestone of the year 2020 that we are now in, I have now been driving my minivan for 20 stinking years.
Oh.
And I would really not mind throwing my minivan out.
Yes.
Even though I will miss it. But don't you guys think it's almost about time that I get rid of that? It's been 20 years, y'all.
And you only have 2 kids to cart around. So you really don't need it.
I started driving a minivan at the age of 21 and I turned 41 this month. So I really think I deserve an award and all kinds of stuff.
Right. I've been wanting to get rid of our minivan, but my girls are both still learning to drive and I just don't want to replace a vehicle while people are still going to be banging into things. And
it's true.
If I don't care about the car, it's a lot less stressful, at least than if they, hit an immovable object. I don't bother turning into insurance or something. I definitely still am worried about other people's cars, but
Exactly.
When you want to be in a big, safe car.
well,
with them
true.
learning
That
to
is
drive.
very true too.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
All right, Julie, what are you going to be tossing other than those blinds?
And I'm not really tossing them, right?
Right.
Mine is going to be some Christmas decorations. I've kind of kept everything that we've ever decorated with since year one of marriage. And
Wow.
the last couple of years, I haven't been putting as much out. And that's kind of the way I have to do things. I can't just get rid of it all at once. But now that I've seen I'm not putting this stuff out, when I take my Christmas stuff down this year, I am not going to be putting it all back in the boxes. And the stuff that I didn't put out, it's going out.
Oh,
Okay.
that's great.
Yeah. I know. I found myself not putting out as much as usual this year. And I found myself wandering the aisles of Target, and I bought a few new things to put out this year. And I was like,
Ooh.
I don't need to keep on putting out the same things. That's kind of boring to me. So, yeah, I can definitely see the need for that. And like, as my kids get married, I'm able to finally give them their Christmas ornaments that have been collected over the years. And I think that's really fun to be able to buy new Christmas ornaments for your tree. Just to add to some of the ones, like to have a change. So I think that's a great
ideas.
idea. Yeah. All right. I'm going to be going through, I know that I say this every year, I'm going to be going through my photos. I am. And listeners, we are going to have somebody on in January that's going to help us go through our photos because we really do need a kick in the pants to get started. But I have this shelving it has doors on it in the living room. And I have filled one section with just like mementos over the years, pictures that I didn't know what to do with, but didn't want out anymore. All the kids' baby books, if they gave me a Mother's Day card, like there's just a lot of stuff in there and I need to go through it. It's not serving me well as it is now because it's such a jumble. And I know there are things in there that I could say, I don't need this old broken frame like you were saying, Mindy, or, I have 50 copies of this photo shoot. I don't need all of them, just thin out. What is one thing that you would like to save for and purchase this year? Mindy, why don't you go first on this?
All right. Well, the very first thought that I had, I wrote down because it truly is what I want to save for. And that is a trip to Italy with my husband. I would love to start saving for that. We wanted to take the trip to Italy on our 20th anniversary. And so much was happening that year that we ended up going to Cancun for the week for so much less money than what it was going to cost to go to Italy. I would love to start saving for that trip. I would like to just say, I'm not sure exactly when we can go yet, but let's earmark this money for that.
Well, what is the particular draw of Italy?
The architecture, the food.
Yeah.
I want to see the Amalfi Coast, just the beauty of it, the water. I mean, everything about a new place is fascinating to me. The language, the people, the traditions, the culture, the way they dress, the plants, the foods that they eat. And again, the way they build homes and buildings. And it's just the culture. I love to learn about new people and new places and new things.
Okay. I mean, that does sound really good. I always get excited to hear what other people want to see. Then I'm like, oh, yeah, I'd like to see that too.
Yes.
But you have to save for London too. So,
well, I mean, that's just a given, Julie. Like,
all right, Julie, what are you trying to save for?
Well, I would love to buy an espresso machine. And they aren't cheap, but it would just be so nice to be able to whip up some fancy coffee at home.
Oh, my goodness.
That has the grinder and the milk frother and all that in there. I have plenty of ways to already make coffee at home, though. So it's not a need. It would be a total luxury.
Right.
But, I probably wouldn't get coffee out as much. Not that I do anyway, really. But I don't know. I just think that would be really fun to have.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be fun.
Instead of your tea, you could have people over for fancy coffee.
That's
exactly. Right. Yes.
All right. Well, one thing I know I'm going to be saving for and hopefully purchasing is 2 used cars, which is not as exciting as a trip to Italy. but my twins are going to turn 16 in May, and each of my other kids has gotten a car when they've turned that age.
Oh
And
my.
listeners, don't roll your eyes at that because all the cars have been and will continue to be very, very used. Like my 17-year-old is driving a car that's almost as old as he is. But no matter how old the car is, the used car buying process is never fun and it's never cheap and it's always frustrating. So I'm just not looking forward to doing that. But I do know it's something that we will be doing at the beginning of the summer.
Wow, that is a big deal right there.
I know. So anyways, if you live in the Nashville area and you're getting rid of a used car later this year, message me on Instagram and I may be interested. Okay, what are some skills that you guys want to learn? I'll go first on this one. This is a skill that I'm excited about because I got one of these for Christmas, and I had asked for it. I want to learn to cook in a cast iron skillet. I have never had a cast iron skillet. My mother, she raves about hers.
Right.
So I was in TJ Maxx before Christmas, and there was a little tiny one that you could just make like 2 eggs, and it was like $4.99. I thought, oh, I'm going to get cast iron skillet. I'm going to learn how to do this. I came home. It said pre-seasoned. I heated it up. I snapped my 2 eggs in. All of a sudden, there's smoke. There's burning. I'm like, okay, I am definitely doing this completely wrong. The pan was a mess in like 2 seconds. So I did know enough not to put it underwater. And then I got on Google that afternoon and read, that even if it's supposedly pre-seasoned, you still need to season it. And like all the
multiple times.
Yes, all the ways that you actually cook in an iron skillet. And I thought, boy, I've got a lot to learn. And 2020 is my year to do it.
Oh, my goodness.
David cooks a steak for himself every week in the iron skillet. He even puts it on Instagram, Marie, so you'll have to watch it.
Oh,
What?
well, and the thing is I've heard we are not good grillers. Like we never grill a steak because we would dry it out to like old shoe leather. But I've heard they're really good in an iron skillet. So I would love to try it.
Yeah, he said he would never eat a grilled steak again. Like it is so good, and the key is to not cook it too long and then let it rest before you eat it. It is delicious. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Wow.
Mindy,
He could teach us some things.
Yes. Mindy, do you use one? Do you use
No,
an
I
iron skillet?
don't. And I haven't had any desire to. It sounds like it's too high maintenance for me.
No, it's really easy because you don't even hardly wash it. You just wipe it out.
Oh.
Yeah. I read that you should use a little oil and like sea salt and with a paper towel to kind of clean it out. Of course, I'm very, very new to this, so I'm sure there are better ways to do it. But it's just there's a lot of different ways to do things that you need to experiment with. And
Okay.
I'm going to try and get better at it. And I even want to cook the classic cornbread in a skillet.
Cornbread, yes.
Which I never have tried, but I always feel like it looks good in magazines.
It does.
good.
That's how my grandmother made it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try it at least once this year, listeners. It might be like the squash soup thing that I try it once. I'm like, that's way too hard.
I'm done.
All right. What's a skill that you want to learn, Julie?
Well, I listed 3. First of all, I did have someone help me come organize my digital photos and back them up. But I want to learn how to do that myself. She backed up 20 years worth of photos, and I want to be able to maintain that with my new ones.
Yes.
So that's a skill I want to learn to be able to do on my own. I'd love to take watercolor lessons, not just Skillshare, but maybe with another person, face to face. And then I kind of going out on a limb here like Mindy, and I'm going to just name the ultimate goal.
There you go.
What is it, Julie?
I would like to learn to play the cello.
Wow.
You would be great at that. That would match how you look.
And I've even
too.
called somebody about who they take lessons from. So
Julie, that's awesome.
So I don't know. I've heard it's an easier string instrument to learn on. Like it doesn't sound screechy like a violin when you're learning.
Right.
That it can even sound good, when you're first learning.
Okay. Well, December 2020, you can play us a Christmas carol on the podcast.
Okay.
That's right.
All right, Mindy, what do you want to learn?
One thing that I have been toying with since I've moved to Pennsylvania is if I want to teach exercise classes again or if I want to personal train again. I let my certifications lapse and I would have to fully get recertified to be able to teach or train again, but I actually am stepping out on a limb, and I think I might do it this year. I even already yesterday, I went to the lady that runs our YMCA that I'm there all the time. And I asked her, well, what certifications do you guys need? And she said, send me your resume. I'm just starting to kind of, think that maybe once our life has settled down, we're settled in our home, people are doing well, that maybe I should start teaching a class here or there or training people again.
Oh,
so
great.
that's something. And other than that, I'd still really like to learn how to fly.
I knew she was going to say that.
On the 2020 list.
Mindy's going to learn how to fly an airplane.
All right. She put that on her 2019. We teased her. She's putting it on 2020. She is not afraid to put herself out there or take risks.
That's right.
All right, guys. Well, what is one way that you are going to have more fun? Julie, how are you going to be having fun this year?
All right. I'm not trying to say that I am a fun person, because I don't know if people would say that or not, but I don't have a problem in this area. Like,
right.
I'm pretty spontaneous and open to having fun. Like, I tend to say yes to too much, and I give myself permission to have fun. So I don't know, maybe one area would be to laugh at myself more, not be so serious about myself and my mistakes, and, just be able to laugh things off maybe. And even talking to more people that I don't know, like talking to strangers, starting conversations with people I don't know. Like if I'm in a store, I usually just kind of want to get in and out. And I don't want to have like fake conversations with the cashier. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like maybe having a real conversation.
Yeah.
And, like just entering into people's lives more.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'll be interested to see how that goes. All right, Mindy, how are you going to be having more fun?
Similar to Julie, I typically look at my day every day and think, how can I have fun? But I think that something practical that I'm going to do is I want to invite people over more to my house now that we're settled. And I also, the other thing is, want to utilize the city of Philadelphia more. Okay. We're really only like 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia. I need to go there more and get to know the city and go to museums and do the festivals and go to the restaurants and things like that. So I want to make it a point for us to get into Philly a little more often.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I've never been to Philadelphia. I'm sure it must have a lot of historical things to see and have a great history.
That does sound fun. I'm sure there's lots of great things to do there.
I know. I think we haven't even scratched the surface. We've been multiple times, but there's just so much more.
Right. Listeners, if you live in the Philadelphia area, email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com and let us know what Mindy should try first.
That's right. I'm all ears.
All right. A way that I'm going to have more fun. You guys, I have the best built-in way. Everybody says that grandchildren are the most fun, and my first grandchild will be born in March. And so I'm so excited to discover all the ways that she's going to make my life more fun.
So exciting, Marie.
She will. It will be so fun.
Yes. So listeners, I don't know exactly yet how my life's going to be more fun, but I'll be more than happy to share in December. All right. What's one small way that you're going to make the world a better place?
I just want to value people more. I thought about like what Julie said earlier, taking time for people, smiling more, making the most of even little interactions just goes a long way. You having a great attitude as you're running errands or with different people, leaving time for small conversations, as I run into people at the store or whatever. I just want to have more positive interactions with people.
Yeah, that'd be great to hear about too. Like, I can't wait to find out how that goes too. What's a small way that you're going to be making the world a better place, Julie?
I am going to try to know my neighbors better. I have a new neighbor, so that is an easy place to start. And we do know each other, but I just want to know my neighbors better and interact and enter into their lives more regularly.
Yeah. Why don't you throw like a block party?
That really be putting myself out
That would be a big risk.
Well, I know when she moved in, she asked if people have cookouts and eat dinner with each other. And I said, no, we don't. Our neighbors don't do that. So I know she would be up for it. So maybe we could get together and do it.
Yeah,
together.
Like it wouldn't even necessarily have to be your whole block.
No, just our cul-de-sac.
Yeah, like a cul-de-sac party.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the neighborhood that I grew up in did do that. And my next door neighbors were always the initiators of that. And those are some of my best memories. Are those neighborhood block parties. Yeah.
That's been the most rewarding part of where we moved in our home is our neighborhood. We love our neighbors so much. And there's always something going on just amongst the 40 something homes that are on our road.
That is a huge blessing.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, what's one small way that I'm going to make the world a better place? I've heard about this a few different places. You guys tell me if you guys have heard about it. People that start like a thank you note project and they start sending thank you notes to people in their lives or people that they've appreciated in the past or maybe what they're doing now. How many times do you get like a handwritten note? Maybe you'll get like a shout out on social media, but how many times do you get like a note that really acknowledges what you've done or meant to someone and just that these mean a lot to people? And I've thought a few times, I should do something like that because I feel like I would enjoy the process of writing them.
Yes.
And you know what it feels like to get one. Like I hold on to it. I don't ever get rid of it,
Right. Yeah. So anyways, I have heard of these and I don't know, they strike a chord in me as being something worthwhile.
I love that. Yeah, it's a great idea.
So now that we've all talked about things that we are going to be doing in 2020, it's time to move into our I'm a Fan section. Julie, what are you a fan of this very week?
So I'm a fan of the game Linkee, Linkee. It's a family party game. Have you ever played it?
I've never heard of it.
No, what is it?
We played it at a game night, and it's really simple, kind of a shout-out fast quiz game. There's 4 little questions that you have to get the answers to first, and then you have to decide how the answers to those 4 questions are linked.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
What makes, what's in common? How are they all linked together? And that's really fun. And usually, you can't obviously you can't tell with your first answer. And then the second answer comes and you start to think, and the third one, and usually by the 4th, you've been given enough information to see, how they're all together. So it's a really fun game.
I am always looking for fun games that we can play. So I am definitely going to look that up. And listeners, I'll put a link to that game in our show notes. Linkee, Linkee. That's a great one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
All right. Well, I am a fan of snow. This might seem silly, but I cannot tell you how excited I get to check the weather to see when we're going to get snow next, because up here, there is a chance for snow almost every week.
Right.
And so I'm always just excited for that snowstorm that's going to come through and make everything beautiful.
That's wonderful.
And there's nothing better than a quiet, snowy January day.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you'll get plenty of those this month then. You'll have to send us some pictures of your snowy January day because I would love to see them.
Yes, I'll be happy to.
All right, well, something else that listeners can do in January is what I'm a fan of. You can watch this series that I watched on Amazon Prime. Steve and I watched it. It's called The Missing. This is described on Google as a British anthology drama television series. It's a crime series, and you guys know that I love my British crime series.
Of course.
Yes. It was gripping, and I'm saying gripping. So we watched the first season of The Missing, and we thought it was good. I mean, we watched, it pretty quickly. There's only 8 episodes. But the second season, I could have watched all 8 episodes in a row. I mean, it was so good. So I just recommend that to anybody out there that wants like a good bingeable series. 8 episodes, both seasons are excellent. And usually the case is that you like the first season of something and then the second season is kind of a letdown. With this series, I felt like the second season was even better than the first. And they're completely unrelated. So if you just wanted to watch the second, you wouldn't need to have watched the first because they cover 2 different crimes.
Wow, that sounds interesting. I think I would enjoy that.
Yes, it was really, really good. And listeners, if anyone has watched The Missing, I would love to hear what you guys thought about it, because it's not your typical series where everything's wrapped up with a bow. So I need to talk about it with some people. So if you guys have watched it and liked it, please message me on Instagram or email us. I would love to hear some feedback on it. I hope all of our listeners enjoyed hearing some of our goals for 2020. We would love to hear from you. What habits are you wanting to build? What adventures are you wanting to go on? What risks are you going to be taking in 2020? Message us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast or email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to receive the show notes every week from each episode, email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com and put show notes in the subject line, and we'll add you to the list. And that way you'll be able to play it right from your email, and you'll also be able to get links to our I'm a Fan recommendations. Julie and Mindy, I cannot believe that we are starting out 2020, but I am excited about this year, and I'm so happy to be able to be doing this podcast with you.
Me too. It's going to be a great year.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye. We're so happy you joined us today. Please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. For links to everything in today's episode, see our show notes at midlifematterspodcast.com or come and follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back here next week.